that feeling after a significant loss, it's more than just sadness, isn't it? It can hit you physically, a sudden racing heart, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Or nights where sleep feels impossible.
Yeah, or even the thought of eating just feels wrong. We often focus so much on the emotional side of grief, the tears, the sadness. But the body's response, it often feels like the silent partner in all of this. Maybe not so silent sometimes.
It absolutely does feel that way. And that's really the heart of our discussion today. We're going to delve into that often overlooked physical experience of grief.
Okay.
We'll be drawing on insights from neuroscience and psychology, too, to understand how our bodies fundamentally react when we lose someone or something profound.
Right. So for you listening, our goal is really to provide a clear, hopefully compassionate understanding of these natural bodily responses to grief.
Yeah, and maybe offer some gentle, practical ways to support your body's healing process.
Exactly. Give you that valuable knowledge kind of quickly but thoroughly, and hopefully without making you feel overwhelmed. And let's unpack this. You mentioned the body's response. Where do we even begin to see that connection playing out?
Well, I think the first crucial step is just realizing that grief isn't just an emotion floating around. It has a tangible, physical presence.
Wow.
Like, many people describe a heavy feeling right here in their chest, or a churning in their stomach, maybe unexplained muscle aches that just pop up.
Right. Okay.
And this isn't just, people saying things. Research confirms that our bodies carry the weight of our loss in very real ways.
So it's not all in your head.
Not at all. You could think of it like this. Your body holds a kind of blueprint of your loved one, and grief is this really agonizing process of that blueprint being rewritten almost at a cellular level.
A blueprint.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. Can you explain a bit more what that blueprint entails, what's in it?
Absolutely. So your brain constructs these incredibly detailed maps of your important relationships. It registers everything, the specific sound of their voice, maybe their unique scent, the way they moved, your shared routines, the little everyday interactions. It's all mapped out neurally.
Okay.
So when that person is suddenly not present anymore, it creates this profound mismatch in those established neural patterns, a conflict.
A mismatch.
Yeah.
Like the brain expects them.
Exactly. And your brain and body then work tirelessly, often completely unconsciously, mind you, to try and resolve this conflict, trying to square what your system expects with the new, harsh reality.
Ah, so that weird instinct to maybe turn and look for them, even when you consciously know they're gone.
Yep.
That's the blueprint in action, that mismatch.
Precisely. That's your brain running the old program. And this internal conflict, this mismatch, it can trigger very real physical sensations.
Like what?
You might experience unexpected heart palpitations, changes in your breathing patterns, maybe suddenly shallow, or you feel like you can't get a full breath, even waves of nausea. And what's really crucial to grasp here, I think, is that these aren't signs that you're weak or that there's some personal failing. They are normal, deeply ingrained biological responses to a massive disruption in your internal world.
Okay, so it's definitely not just in our heads, literally or figuratively.
Yeah.
Got it. Beyond those initial, maybe quite intense reactions, what are some other ways this physical side of grief can manifest? Sounds like it goes further.
Oh, it does. Beyond those immediate responses, grief can show up in a surprising, almost bewildering range of physical symptoms. Persistent fatigue is a big one.
The kind sleep doesn't seem to fix.
Exactly. That bone-deep exhaustion that sleep doesn't alleviate. Changes in appetite are also really frequent, sometimes a complete loss of interest in food. Other times, maybe an urge to overeat, seeking comfort. Many people experience physical tension, often held tightly in the shoulders, the neck, or the jaw.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Clenching.
Right. Digestive issues can flare up too, along with that persistent feeling of heaviness or tightness in the chest we mentioned earlier.
It's almost like the body is physically carrying a heavy burden.
That's a great way to describe it. And importantly, the immune system is also significantly affected.
How so?
Well, people who are grieving often find they're more susceptible to illness, catching colds more easily, maybe experiencing flare-ups of pre-existing conditions like asthma or autoimmune issues. Some even report changes in their senses, feeling sort of foggy-headed, or a sense that the world looks gray, less vibrant, or food just tastes bland, lost its flavor.
Wow. It's a really, really wide spectrum of physical experiences then. So when someone is right in the thick of it, feeling overwhelmed by these physical sensations, what can they actually do in that moment? Is there anything?
Yes, definitely. A surprisingly helpful and simple technique in those acute moments is to gently place one hand on your heart and the other on your stomach.
Okay.
And then just take a few slow, gentle breaths. Really try to focus on the feeling of the rise and fall beneath your hands.
What does that do?
It's a very direct signal of safety and calm to your nervous system. It brings you into the present moment, physically grounding you.
Oh, okay, a physical anchor.
Precisely. And sometimes even just naming the physical sensation you're experiencing can be beneficial, silently or out loud.
Like saying, my shoulders feel tight.
Exactly. Or my stomach is churning. It sounds simple, but it helps your brain begin to acknowledge and process what's happening in your body rather than just being overwhelmed by it.
Right?
It's so important to remember that your body is wise, fundamentally. It's trying its best to help you navigate this incredibly difficult time. Healing isn't really about suppressing the grief, but more about creating a space where your body can carry it in a more manageable, maybe slightly more comfortable way over time.
You've mentioned the nervous system a few times now. Can we delve a bit deeper into its role? How exactly is it driving this physical experience of grief?
Absolutely. The nervous system is really the central command system here, specifically the autonomic nervous system. That's the part that runs your body's essential functions on autopilot, like breathing, heart rate, digestion.
It's like you don't have to think about.
Right. When you experience a significant loss, this system often shifts into a kind of protective, high alert mode. It's not a malfunction. It's actually an ancient survival mechanism kicking in. Grief throws a lot of unexpected, often alarming data into this autopilot system.
So that's the fight or flight response we hear about. Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Research clearly shows that grief activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight branch, in much the same way as if you were facing a physical danger.
Wow.
That's why early grief can bring about that racing heart, the shallow breathing, muscle tension, that feeling of being constantly on edge, hyper alert.
And why does loss trigger that response?
Well, from an evolutionary standpoint, separation from your group or a key attachment figure was a serious threat to survival. So the body responds accordingly, even now.
Okay. And I imagine stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline play a big part in keeping that activation going.
They absolutely do. The brain signals for the release of these stress hormones. Now, they're helpful in genuine short-term emergencies, but their prolonged presence during grief, that can be incredibly taxing on the body.
How so?
It contributes significantly to that deep, bone-tired fatigue many people experience, even if they haven't been physically active. The body is just working incredibly hard internally, running on stress fuel.
It sounds exhausting just thinking about it. It's like
Well,
the brain is still wired for that connection, even when the physical connection has been broken.
that's a perfect way to put it. The brain's attachment system, which evolved over millennia to create strong human bonds for survival and well-being, it continues to sort of search for the person who's gone.
Oh, okay.
That explains that persistent yearning, that almost physical sensation of longing that often accompanies grief. The brain is, in a very real sense, trying to find and reconnect, running its attachment programs.
That must be why it can feel so physically painful sometimes, that yearning.
It really is. And the vagus nerve plays a huge role here, too. It's a major nerve connecting the brain to many vital organs, the heart, lungs, gut. You could almost think of it as the grief superhighway in our body.
The vagus nerve. Right.
It acts as a primary conduit for carrying these grief signals throughout the body. This can manifest as those sensations in the gut, the heart, the lungs, even the throat.
Like that lump in your throat feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or chest pain that isn't actually cardiac related or sudden digestive issues. These can all be linked to the vagus nerve transmitting these intense signals of loss and stress.
And you mentioned the brain's prediction systems earlier, too.
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating in the context of grief. How does that work?
It really is. So our brains are constantly automatically making predictions about what will happen next based on all our past experiences. It's how we navigate the world efficiently.
Okay.
After a loss, these systems keep anticipating seeing, hearing, or interacting with the person who's died based on years of established patterns.
Right, because that was the norm.
Precisely. And every single time reality clashes with these deeply ingrained expectations, you reach for the phone to call them, you expect them to walk in the door, the brain has to work hard to update its internal model of the world.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It's incredibly energy consuming. This constant recalibration, this clash between prediction and reality contributes massively to the disorientation and profound exhaustion that often characterizes grief. Your brain is literally rebuilding its world map.
Wow, okay. So, Knowing all this about how the nervous system is reacting, what are some practical things someone can actively do to support it while they're grieving, to maybe help it regulate a bit?
Yeah, there are definitely things you can do. One really helpful approach is to consciously alternate between gentle movement and rest.
Gentle movement, like,
Even just short bursts of activity, like 5 or 10 minutes of slow walking, some gentle stretching, or simply swaying side to side gently, it can really help regulate the autonomic nervous system, shifting it out of that high alert state.
so you don't have to run a marathon.
Absolutely not. Small amounts can make a difference. And for moments of really intense distress or panic, applying cold water to your face, or even just running cold water over your wrists, or holding an ice pack on the back of your neck.
Cold water. Why does that help?
It triggers something called the mammalian dive reflex, which slows the heart rate and shifts blood flow. It's like a gentle biological reset button for the nervous system.
Interesting.
Also, at night, some people find that a weighted blanket provides this gentle, consistent pressure that signals safety and containment to the nervous system, which can really help with sleep.
Like feeling held.
Exactly. And just throughout the day, try to make a conscious effort to notice any physical tension you're holding. Are your shoulders creeping up towards your ears?
Mine probably are right now.
Mine too, probably. Just consciously lowering them while taking a slow, deep breath can send a surprisingly powerful message of safety back to your brain. Little moments of conscious relaxation.
Okay, those are really practical tips. You also touched on how grief can disrupt basic bodily systems pretty profoundly. Let's talk a bit more about sleep, immunity, and digestion, as those seem to be major areas affected.
Absolutely. Sleep is a huge one. Changes in sleep patterns are almost universal during grief. Many people experience insomnia, really struggling to fall asleep as their minds race with thoughts or replay memories.
Or waking up way too early.
Yes, or waking frequently through the night. Others might find themselves sleeping for very long periods, but still waking up feeling utterly drained, not refreshed at all.
Why is that, if you're sleeping more?
It's because grief actually disrupts the normal architecture of sleep. It often reduces the amount of restorative deep sleep and also the REM sleep, which is crucial for emotional processing. So even if the total time spent in bed seems sufficient, the quality of that sleep is likely compromised.
Okay. Less
Yeah.
of the good stuff.
Exactly. And the body's natural sleep-wake cycle, the circadian rhythm, can also get thrown completely off kilter. Waking up in the really early hours, like 3 or 4 a.m., is incredibly common.
Why then, specifically?
It's often due to natural surges of stress hormones, like cortisol peaking at the wrong time during the night. This further interferes with the body's ability to get proper rest and repair itself.
It's a vicious cycle then.
It really can be. And this lack of restorative sleep then directly links to the issues with the immune system you mentioned earlier.
Okay, how does that connection work?
Well, the immune system is intricately linked to both our sleep quality and our overall stress levels. Research indicates that grieving individuals often show reduced activity of natural killer cells, NK cells, which are crucial foot soldiers in fighting off infections and even cancer cells.
Wow.
And they also tend to show increased levels of inflammation throughout the body. It's almost like the body's defenses are weakened or maybe misdirected when it's under this kind of prolonged emotional and physiological stress.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. And the digestive system, that's another area that seems incredibly sensitive to emotional states, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The gut has this complex network of neurons, often rightfully referred to as the second brain, that maintains constant two-way communication with the brain in your head via the vagus nerve we talked about.
The gut-brain axis.
Exactly. And even the gut microbiome, those trillions of beneficial bacteria living in your gut we now know, can be significantly altered by the stress of grief.
And that affects digestion.
Directly. It can affect how you digest food, nutrient absorption, and it can even influence your mood, since the gut produces a lot of neurotransmitters like serotonin. This can explain why food might suddenly lose its appeal or taste different, or why you might experience digestive upset like constipation or diarrhea.
The gut-brain connection is just endlessly fascinating, isn't it? So, given these disruptions, what are some actionable things people can do to gently support their sleep, their immunity, and their digestion while grieving? Thinking practically again.
Okay. Well, for sleep, establishing a gentle and consistent sleep routine as much as possible is really key. Try to aim for similar bedtimes and wake-up times each day, even on weekends if you can.
Creating some rhythm.
Exactly. And try to limit exposure to bright screens, phones, tablets, TVs in the hour or two before you hope to sleep, as that blue light can interfere with melatonin production.
Good reminder. And for food,
Instead of focusing on forcing down large, heavy meals when you have no appetite, prioritize small, frequent, nutrient-dense foods throughout the day.
Like what kinds of things?
Things like nuts and seeds, fruits, berries, maybe some yogurt, or easily digestible vegetable soups or smoothies. Things that pack a nutritional punch without requiring a huge digestive effort.
Small, frequent, and easily digestible. That sounds like a much kinder approach to eating when you're grieving.
It really is. Just getting some nourishment in regularly and spending even just 10–15 minutes outdoors, especially exposing yourself to morning sunlight.
Why morning sunlight?
It's incredibly powerful for helping to reset the body's circadian rhythm, which can significantly improve sleep patterns over time. Plus, gentle movement during the day, again, nothing strenuous needed, not only aids sleep later on, but also supports immune function by improving lymphatic flow, helping to clear out waste products.
Okay, that all makes sense. You've given us a lot of insight into what's actually happening within the body during grief.
Ugh.
Now let's move on to some of those gentle practices you mentioned earlier that can help ease this physical burden.
Right. And it's important to frame these practices correctly. They aren't about trying to magically eliminate the emotional pain of grief. That's a process that needs time and space.
Okay.
These are more about creating conditions that support your entire system, your mind and your body, as it processes this profound experience, giving it the resources it needs.
Got it. So where do we start?
Well, something as fundamental as your breath can be incredibly powerful. But perhaps not just any deep breathing. Specific patterns can directly activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
That's the rest and digest one, right?
Right.
The calming one.
Exactly, the opposite of fight or flight. The 4-7-8 breath technique is a really good example.
How does that work?
You inhale deeply and quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Then you hold that breath gently for a count of 7. And then you exhale slowly and completely through your mouth, making a gentle whoosh sound for a count of 8.
4, 7, 8. Why that pattern?
That long exhale, the 8 count, is particularly effective. It acts as a direct signal of safety to the brain, helping to interrupt the stress cycle and promote relaxation. Just doing a few rounds can make a noticeable difference.
That long exhale really does seem like it would help calm things down physically.
It does, physiologically. Physical touch is another really vital aspect we often overlook. The skin hunger many people experience after a loss. There's a real physiological need for connection and comfort.
Skin hunger. I haven't heard that term, but it makes immediate sense.
Doesn't it? And massage, even just simple self-massage of your hands or feet, rubbing some lotion in slowly, that can stimulate the release of oxytocin.
The love hormone.
Yeah, or the tend and befriend hormone. It directly counteracts the stress response and promotes feelings of well-being and connection. And think about pressure and warmth, too.
How so?
The pressure receptors in your skin respond really positively to gentle, consistent weight and warmth. That's why things like those weighted blankets we mentioned, or even just taking a warm bath or shower, can feel so deeply comforting and soothing to the nervous system.
So it's not just a psychological comfort we're seeking when we crave those things. There's a genuine physiological need being met.
Exactly right. It's biology. Nutrition also becomes particularly important during grief, as we touched upon. Again, the focus shifts.
Shift how?
Instead of stressing about strict meal schedules or trying to force yourself to eat large meals when nothing appeals, the priority becomes nutrient density, getting the most bang for your buck from smaller amounts of food.
Okay. What kind of nutrients are especially helpful?
Omega-3 fatty acids are great found in things like walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, and fatty fish like salmon. They can help reduce the inflammation associated with stress and grief.
Right.
And magnesium-rich foods are also really beneficial. Think leafy greens like spinach, avocados, nuts, seeds, even dark chocolate in moderation. Magnesium plays a key role in sleep regulation and muscle relaxation.
Good to know. So even small amounts of these nutrient-rich foods can provide vital support to a stress system.
Exactly. Little bits count. And staying properly hydrated, that must be even more critical when the body is under this kind of stress, right?
Absolutely crucial. Dehydration can significantly worsen fatigue, headaches, and that cognitive fog or grief brain that many people experience. Makes sense.
Just keeping a water bottle visible nearby can serve as a gentle reminder to sip throughout the day. And sometimes warm herbal teas like chamomile or lemon balm or ginger can feel more comforting than plain water, providing hydration along with some mild calming or soothing effects.
Okay. What about the often suggested advice of spending time in nature? We know it feels good, But what's the physiological basis for its benefits during grief?
Nature offers this wonderful form of multi-system support. It's quite unique. The combination of natural light, the rich but not overwhelming sensory experiences, the sounds, the smells, the sights, and the opportunity for gentle movement creates what environmental psychologists call soft fascination.
Soft fascination. Tell me more.
It describes this state of gentle, effortless attention that we often experience in natural settings. Our minds are engaged, curious, but not overwhelmed or stressed, allowing for a sense of calm and mental restoration.
Ah, okay. Unlike the hard fascination of staring at a screen, maybe.
Exactly. Even brief periods outdoors, just sitting on a park bench or walking slowly through trees, can demonstrably lower cortisol levels, reduce blood pressure, and help shift your perspective in a subtle but really meaningful way.
It really does feel like a gentle sensory reset button sometimes.
That's a perfect description, precisely. And don't underestimate the power of sound either.
Sound, how does that fit in?
Well, certain types of music, particularly instrumental music, with a tempo around 60 beats per minute, which is close to the resting heart rate, can actually help synchronize your own heart rate and breath to the rhythm.
Really?
Yes, it's a phenomenon called entrainment. It can literally help regulate your physical systems. And even just listening to nature sounds like rain falling, waves on a shore, or bird song, or gentle instrumental music that can provide a sense of comfort without requiring much emotional energy to process, which is key when you're grieving.
That's fascinating about the tempo matching. You've also mentioned the importance of personal grief rituals. How can creating those help with the physical aspects of grieving that we've been talking about?
That's a great question. Creating personal grief rituals, which are distinct from maybe formal ceremonies, allows the body to actively participate in the healing process.
Actively participate.
Yes. Unlike just thinking or talking about grief, these are often simple, repeatable actions you can take whenever your body signals the need for comfort, connection, or release. Engaging in these physical acts helps the nervous system integrate the loss over time in a healthier, more embodied way. It gives the grief somewhere to go, physically.
Okay. Can you give us some examples of what these personal rituals might look like? It sounds quite abstract otherwise.
Sure. Water rituals can be very powerful for many people. The simple act of immersing yourself in water, whether it's taking a long, mindful bath, letting the water run over you in the shower, or even just sitting by a natural body of water like a lake or the ocean.
What's the significance there?
Water often symbolizes cleansing, release, transformation. And the physical sensation of the water on your skin is very grounding, bringing you directly into the present moment. Its fluid nature can also feel like it mirrors the way grief itself can sometimes move through you, ebbing and flowing.
That's a really evocative image, very physical.
It is. Another type involves creating something with your hands. Simple, repetitive activities like kneading dough, shaping clay, planting seeds or tending a small garden, knitting, drawing, working with fabric.
What's the benefit of the hands-on aspect?
These activities engage multiple senses and often bypass the cognitive overwhelm that can come with grief. It's a way for your body to physically engage, to shape or transform raw materials, which can feel like it mirrors your internal process of working through the grief in a nonverbal, embodied way.
It's like the hands are doing some of the emotional processing that the mind can't always manage to do consciously at that moment.
Exactly. Beautifully put. And developing small rituals around objects connected to your loved one can also be surprisingly helpful and grounding.
How so? Isn't that sometimes seen as unhealthy attachment?
Not necessarily, not if done mindfully. Wearing a piece of their jewelry, maybe using their favorite mug for your morning tea, or simply carrying a small, comforting item that belonged to them in your pocket.
What does that do physically?
It provides a tangible sensory connection that helps your body, your nervous system, gradually adapt to their physical absence. It offers comfort through familiarity. Think of these objects not as unhealthy attachments, but as gentle bridges that aid in the transition, providing a link while your system adjusts.
Okay, that reframing makes sense. So as someone navigates this really challenging grief journey, focusing on some of these supportive practices, what are some subtle signs that their body is beginning to heal and integrate this immense loss? What might they look out for?
That's important because progress isn't always linear or dramatic. Often, the signs are quite subtle shifts. For instance, sleep might not suddenly return to exactly how it was before the loss.
Right.
But you might notice yourself waking less frequently during the night, perhaps, or feeling slightly more rested upon waking, even if not fully energized yet.
Small improvements.
Yes. Or maybe your digestion is still sensitive, but food might begin to have its familiar flavors again more consistently. You might find yourself actually anticipating a meal sometimes, rather than dreading it. These small changes are really significant indicators that your nervous system is beginning to recalibrate and find a new, albeit different, equilibrium.
So it's not always about feeling back to normal, but more of a gradual easing, a new normal emerging.
Precisely, exactly. Another really meaningful sign is when you find yourself able to experience genuine moments of pleasure or joy, however small, without that immediate crushing pang of guilt that can often accompany early grief.
Ah, the guilt. Yes.
When your body can accept and even enjoy brief moments of well-being, maybe the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of a favorite food, a moment of connection with a pet, it signals that your nervous system is starting to broaden its capacity again, moving beyond the intense, singular focus of acute grief.
That makes so much sense. That guilt can be such a heavy physical burden in itself.
It really can be. And you might also notice gradually an increased capacity to be present and engage with other people without feeling utterly wiped out afterward.
Because social interaction can be exhausting early on.
Incredibly so. Even supportive social contact can feel overwhelming to a grieving nervous system that's already overloaded. So as healing progresses, your body can gradually tolerate and eventually even benefit from and seek out social connection again without that extreme depletion.
It sounds like it's really about the body finding a new baseline, a new way of operating in the world post-loss.
Exactly. That's a great summary. And perhaps one of the most significant signs of this integration, this healing, is when memories of your loved one can start to coexist more comfortably alongside your present-day experiences.
How does that feel?
It's when that feeling of being constantly torn between the past and the present begins to ease, even just a little. Integration happens when your body, your whole being, learns how to hold both the enduring bond with your loved one and your ongoing physical life together as part of a new whole.
This has been incredibly helpful, truly, in understanding these often hidden physical dimensions of grief. So, if we were to try and distill it down, what's the key takeaway for our listeners today from this deep dive?
I think the core understanding is this. Grief absolutely manifests physically, and it does so through predictable patterns in your nervous system.
Patterns that aren't random.
No, they affect your sleep, your immunity, your digestion, as your brain and body work incredibly hard to adapt to the absence of someone significant. And crucially, these bodily responses are natural adaptations. They are not signs of weakness, even when they create really challenging symptoms like fatigue, pain, or heightened stress. Remember that blueprint idea: your body is working to adjust to a massive change in its reality.
Right. And the gentle practices we've discussed, they aren't magic cures, but they can be powerful tools in supporting the body through this really demanding process.
Absolutely. Simple practices like mindful breathing, the 4-7-8 breath perhaps, prioritizing those small, nutrient-dense foods, spending even short periods in nature. These things can significantly help regulate the nervous system.
Giving it space to process.
Yes, and aiding emotional processing indirectly by calming the physical system. And creating those personal rituals gives grief a tangible expression, allowing your body to actively participate in healing and recognizing those subtle improvements we talked about.
The small signs of healing.
Exactly. Recognizing those is also key, as they signal that healing and integration are indeed underway, even if it feels slow.
This has truly deepened my understanding, and I'm sure it has for our listeners as well. Just so important to remember that grief isn't only an emotional journey, it's a whole being experience, physical included.
It really is. And approaching it with compassion and understanding for both the emotional and the physical aspects is just so crucial for navigating it as healthily as possible.
So for you, the listener, as you continue to navigate your own unique experience with grief, maybe just consider one small, gentle way you might tend to your body this week.
Doesn't have to be big.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Maybe it's taking just a few moments for that 4-7-8 breath when you feel overwhelmed. Maybe noticing what small, nourishing food might actually feel appealing today. Or perhaps just stepping outside for 5 minutes to feel the air and see the sky.
Simple acts of physical self-compassion.
Exactly. Or perhaps, if you feel up to it, take some quiet time to explore the connection between specific physical sensations you're noticing and the broader emotional landscape of your grief. Just observing with curiosity. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today.